Welcome to Begley's Mailbag here on SNY.TV, where we answer your questions about the Knicks and the NBA. This is a season finale edition of the Mailbag. So before we get started, thanks to everybody for their questions and their comments. It's been a fun season, but let's get right to the questions here. We have the Knicks recap asking, are the Knicks listening to trade offers that include RJ Barrett? Now, I don't know. I don't have any intel on active listening and what could be out there. I do know that last summer, RJ Barrett was a big name in the Donovan Mitchell trade talks with the Utah Jazz. And there were some people with the Knicks still there who were open to and comfortable with trading RJ to get Donovan Mitchell. So I don't think there's anything active at the moment. The last I had heard on OG Anunoby, which was about a week ago, was that Toronto wasn't taking calls on him at all. So I don't think there's anything for the Knicks to be aggressive on at the moment. But big picture, if you're going to trade for a top player, you're going to have to give up top young players on your end. And so RJ Barrett, I think, could be a part of any deal when you're talking about bringing in that star player. I haven't gotten a sense at all that the Knicks were, taking RJ off the table at all. But I do know that they highly respect what he's done for this career so far. In no way are they looking to get rid of him. But again, in that deal that brings that top player back, I think he wouldn't be off the table, but also Quentin Grimes, I don't think will be fully off the table. Neither would Immanuel Quickley. That's just a part of the deal when you're trying to make a big-time trade to bring a top NBA player to your destination. Good question here from Pete the GOAT. Pete wants to know, how do you think the Knicks should handle the Evan Fournier situation, and what do you think is going to happen with Fournier? I think the Knicks should make a trade here before the season and send Fournier somewhere where he can go and get minutes and be back in a rotation. I think he was on the record talking about how much it could hurt his career if he was back with the Knicks this year, out of the rotation, not getting minutes at all. And I think, from a human perspective, you would take that into account if you're the Knicks. I know that they value highly that Evan Fournier contract, which could be an expiring deal, could have 1 year left on it entering this season. And I do know that, teams that have been in touch with New York on him and other situations, they say that the Knicks are not looking to just get off of that deal just to get off of it. So it would be, in combination with other players for a big trade, or just a way to get draft capital. Send him to a team that can, absorb some of his salary. One other note on Fournier, Pete. The Knicks have heard from several teams over the free agency period about interest in Fournier, including from a couple teams that made the playoffs last year. Another team to keep an eye on here is San Antonio. The Knicks and San Antonio have touched base casually about potential Fournier deals, but I was told that recently the Knicks, and I made it clear, took a stance on not wanting to add any draft compensation in a Fournier deal that sent Fournier to another team. If it's San Antonio, they don't have interest in adding compensation. They feel like the team they're sending Fournier to will have to give something up because they value Fournier's contract highly. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out between now and training camp. But you can see if the Knicks do keep Fournier on going into the season, that teams in playoff contention looking to add shooting, I'm sure they'd be calling the Knicks because Fournier has established himself as a strong perimeter shooter in this league. Got one from @TuloTech, and TuloTech wants to know any updates on the Immanuel Quickley extension. Will the Knicks wait until next summer like Philly is doing with Maxey? I don't think so. Philly, according to various reports, is going to wait until next summer with Tyrese Maxey, still planning to sign him to a big contract, but wanting to have cap flexibility, have some money to spend next offseason in addition to spending it on Tyrese Maxey. With the Knicks, I don't think they're trying to gain any cap flexibility here, nor really could they by waiting on a deal with Immanuel Quickley. And with regards to a timeline, most often these things get done right before the season. I think the deadline is right before rosters get set there for the regular season. And so most often that happens. Sometimes, top rookies get their extensions done early in the summer, but Quickley selected 25. It's not often that you see a player at that spot in the draft get their extension done early on in the summer. So I think it's a natural process here. I would expect the Knicks to be aggressive in trying to get a deal done with Quickley, multiple year deal for many reasons. Obviously, They love him as a player. He's done great things for the organization, but you look big picture. We were talking about RJ Barrett earlier. And if you're going to make this big trade that we've all talked about for a long time, including owner James Dolan, talked about Leon Rose bringing in star players. If that's going to happen, Immanuel Quickley being traded after he's extended makes a lot more sense, makes the deal easier than if he was traded on his rookie contract, because your salary and the ability of the player don't really match up in that sense. So I would expect for many reasons for a deal to maybe not get done, but for the Knicks to be aggressive and trying to get a deal done before that deadline with Quickley. Another extension note with the Knicks, obviously Josh Hart eligible for an extension starting early next month. He opted into his contract this summer instead of testing free agency, which gave the Knicks more financial flexibility to go ahead and make Donte DiVincenzo a competitive offer. They signed DiVincenzo. I fully expect the Knicks and Hart to come to an agreement on a multi-year extension later this offseason, and the max I think would be around $81 million. I would expect it to come in under that number, 75, that neighborhood, but under the max of 81, but would be stunned if the Knicks and Josh Hart didn't come to that multi-year extension. It can be as long as 4 years. I would assume it would be around there for Hart, and so we'll expect Hart to be under contract with this Knicks team for several seasons to come here once he puts pen to paper on that extension sometime next month. Got one from the Bronx Pulse. Bronx Pulse wants to know, is management really all in on Julius Randle because they're concerned with the optics of trading him? I think, the fan base part of it, look, if he's playing well and the Knicks are winning, I think that certainly doesn't come into play. And if he's not playing well and the fan base is on him, I can't see Leon Rose and the group over there putting a lot of weight towards that, player maybe getting booed or not being popular with the fans. I think for them it's about winning, and you can argue both sides of the Randle debate. I would say that he's produced a lot, and that's helped the Knicks win a lot of games. You could look at the postseason, and you could have questions about Randle, fair questions about Randle. As far as the Knicks being all in, though, I don't think anybody is untouchable except for Jalen Brunson. But I got the sense earlier in the offseason that there was really no way Julius Randle was going to be moved unless it was for some monster deal. I got the sense that, the relationships that he had top of the organization on down were very strong. I got the sense that Randle had no interest in being moved. And I think that the Knicks feel good about Randle, what he's done over the course of his time under Leon Rose and Tom Thibodeau. I don't see him getting moved right now, again, unless it's just for a monster name. I think he's sticking here for the time being. Got one from KNYT Hoops. KNYT wants to know, what additional move do you think the Knicks could realistically make this offseason? We mentioned the Hart extension, Fournier trade, and I really think anything else happens on the margins here. I don't see a big move coming together here for the Knicks before the start of the season, but I know that Harden is out there. I know that Lillard is out there, but what I had heard as recently as last week was that the Knicks were not aggressive on either player, that they had kind of drawn a line in the sand. They knew there was a place they wanted to go in terms of offers. They weren't going to exceed it. And so Lillard, we all think he's going to end up in Miami. I still think that's the case. Harden is interesting because Daryl Morey is not going to move him just to move him, to acquiesce him. He wants to get something in return. The Knicks, if it came down to it and the price reached a lower point, I could see Daryl Morey saying, well, if I could get X amount of draft picks from the Knicks, I could turn that into, another top player. I don't think it's likely, but I think that's just a scenario to keep an eye on. I've heard that the Knicks just have this level that they're willing to go to in terms of trades for these two players in particular, and they have been unwilling to exceed it, at least as of earlier this month. That's it for this edition of Begley's Mailbag here on SNY.TV. This is our final episode this season. We'll be back next year ahead of 2023-2024 training camp. But just want to say thank you to everybody for questions, comments, feedback, interacting, everything this year. It's been a fun season with this mailbag, and I'm definitely looking forward to continuing it next year.